We now have to cross over to our global business update as Rotus Oddiri joins us live from Washington, D.C. as the IMF World Bank kicks off today. Goodness, is my passport the only passport gathering dust at Arise? Good morning, Rotus. How are you?
Good morning, Vimbai. Good morning, Rufai. Good morning all our viewers out there. Yeah, we are at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue in front of the White House. Of course, Trump is not home. He is, of course, in the Middle East. We're about to give that speech. I just heard both of you speaking about it. And I think the next steps now is going to be about infrastructure in Gaza. I heard what Rufai was talking. Actually, Vimbai, I heard what you were talking about with respect to the transition and what happens next. Who rebuilds Gaza? That is the question now. The estimates are that it's anywhere from 18 billion from the World Bank to 40 to 50 billion from other estimates. And who is going to pay for it? We understand that Trump wants the Arab nations to pitch in and pay for it. How that is going to work going forward, we don't know, because, as you have said, these transition periods have been mixed. So no one is going to want to put money in there unless they know that things are going to work out going forward. So it's very early days. This victory lap Trump is trying to take, it's still really early. But he's got other issues, which is China. On Friday, just to give folks a recap, Asian markets, in fact, this morning, let's start with Asian markets from this morning. The biggest drop was in Hong Kong. The Hang Seng jumping by about 3%. The South Korean Kospi jumping about 1.5%, and the Shanghai Composite Index dropping about 1.3%. U.S. markets losing about $2 trillion on Friday in market cap because Trump threatened new tariffs on China. As a result of that, gold is now back above 4,000 this morning because investors were really worried and ran into gold. So what's been going on? The background here is that the trade tensions have resurfaced between the U.S. and China. The U.S. essentially said they're going to apply fees to ships from China that dock at U.S. ports. China has retaliated. Both of those fees will take effect on tomorrow, the 14th. Also, they've blacklisted more firms, and China apparently is introducing a probe, an antitrust probe to Qualcomm. So things have just resurfaced all over. And in China, what really set Trump's hair ablaze was the rare earth minerals that China said, if you are a foreign exporter of rare earth minerals from their country, you need a license now. And you need a license for as little as 0.1% of the rare earth minerals to the value of what is being exported, which is almost everything. They also said if you're using China technology to get those exports out of there, you're going to have to essentially get that license. So Trump just put out a Truth Social post on Friday saying that they're going to put 100% tariffs on Chinese goods effective November the 1st. Here is Jamieson Greer, who is the U.S. trade representative. He was on Fox News saying that this is a power grab by China and it's not going to be tolerated. And he also said, well, he also actually reiterated how important rare earth minerals are. Here he is.
Quickly, as soon as we found out from public sources, we reached out to the Chinese to have a phone call, and they deferred. However, in the past couple of days, I think it's become very clear to everybody that this power grab by the Chinese won't be tolerated. So I think some of this messaging has signaled that they understand that there's a serious issue here. Well, listen, we use the term rare earths. They're actually not that rare. We have them in the U.S., Australia, Argentina, as was noted. The challenge is that China has controlled all the processing, almost 90% of the processing. They've amassed a monopoly, and they've undercut other countries that try to produce it. So that's why we're in this particular situation. So certainly other countries can play a part in this. And by the way, the rare earths and these critical materials, they certainly go into household objects, cars, smartphones we talk to each other on, but there are also other applications, satellites and defense equipment. So this is a serious issue.
I think it's very interesting that Jamison Greer is saying that there's rare earth minerals in Argentina, in the US, Australia, but China controls the processing and has monopolized it. Think about that for a second, logically. Imagine somebody saying, oh, there's oil in Nigeria, Angola, and Ghana, but South Africa is monopolizing the processing of oil. So anyway, look, China is squeezing the US's neck ahead of this meeting between Trump and Xi later on this month. And this is them flexing them also. They actually responded in a statement, the Ministry of Commerce. The ministry essentially said that, you know, threatening with high tariffs at every turn is not the right way to get along with China. If the US persists in its own course, China will resolutely take corresponding measures to safeguard its legitimate rights and interests. Trump then released a Truth Social post a few hours ago trying to douse the fire. He said, hopefully it's on your screen, he says, China will be fine. President Xi is well respected. He made a mistake, and the U.S. doesn't want to hurt China. So U.S. futures this morning are pointing up a little bit as a result of that. So maybe things will pull back. But Asian stocks, as you've seen, that's not the case. So finally, at least on China, their Customs Department released their trade numbers this morning, and take a look at this. Exports from China to the U.S. have fallen now for 6 months in a row. I think about 26-27% year on year in September. Imports dropped about 16%, but yet Chinese exports overall still beat estimates. I think about 7% with a 6.5 estimate from an economist that Reuters polled. Best results in 6 months. Imports were at the highest level in a year. So even though China exports are reducing to the United States, China is still able to make that up elsewhere, which I think gives them some leverage. So I say all this to now come to the IMF and how this is going to be part of what is going to be discussed this week with trade, debt for emerging markets, and also artificial intelligence. And as you've already noted, Adifemi already noted this, that Wale Edu unfortunately will not be at the IMF World Bank meetings. Laimi Cardoso, the governor of the central bank, will be leading the delegation and will be following through with everything that takes place this week with updates.
Cover up. I can feel the cold out of your voice, my brother. Cover up. I know it's cold in America. Well, right?
I take back the comments about my passport. I think my passport is safe here. It's nice and warm. Thanks so much, Rotus.